Hello, welcome to another toneless landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and the painting I'm bringing you today, I've given the title of Day's End. Hopefully I can remember that when I actually get around to doing photography. It was a very interesting painting. The size is 11 by 14. And it was a based on a reference image of a pictorialist photograph that I had converted from black and white into some pretty extreme color. And uh, I'm actually pretty happy with the way the painting turned out, but it was a bit of a struggle, and I'll tell you why. It is purple and yellow, and those are complementary. So when you mix them together, actually get a fairly pleasant kind of warmish brown, grayish brown. Um, but they do have a tendency to cancel each other out. So the intermediary between those two tones is obviously going to be some forms of reds and oranges and things like that, which is what I did. And actually, it's one of these cases where, I came in the next day, or I think it was, after my day off, so a couple days later, and said, "Oh, that actually looks pretty nice." And so I'm probably going to leave it alone. I had, and maybe I'll put it up on the easel and do it again, but I kind of like that it has a bunch of just big fat expressive strokes from me just trying to get the paint down as I was losing energy and getting fatigued towards the end of it. So now there'll be a live version of this in the members area, and I think it's about a 2 hour, maybe 2 hours painting or something like that. Not excessively long, but I started it kind of at the end of the day, and like I said, it ended up working out okay. I think it's good to change things up. I also did a version of this scene or image with blues, which I was debating which one I wanted to do. Those of you that are members would have seen the little tutorial, and that was the blue version of the image. If you're in the members area, you'll kind of know how I came up with the reference for this, and you've got extra added insight, special access. Isn't that cool? Now the black I'm using is just plain old lamp black here. I'm doing my drawing. Um, I do think it's a pretty strong composition. It's a very open composition, but you've got the main tree forms on our right, and then offset with a little bunch in the distance. I love that kind of thing. It works so well. And the main deal with the main tree forms was just making sure that I avoided popsicle status. Maybe more accurately called lollipop, because popsicles usually are like more rectangular with rounded corners, but a lollipop is just a round bit on the end of a stick. And if you're a landscape painter, you know what I'm talking about. You've done it. You've done it. And maybe I've even done it and sold those. Somewhere in the world, there is somebody's enjoying one of my lollipop paintings. But so my strategies are always to do things to break up the outside shape, come up with an interesting shape. And I do think this tree has a very interesting shape. The other thing is, in the reference, there was a big gap between the edge of the board and where the tree started. So I pushed that tree all the way off the edge, and that's a good tip for you too. Generally, you don't want your trees just hanging out close to the edge but not actually going off the edge. You're better off. Same goes for the top, by the way. Oh, we're getting into some color now. All right. One of the things I wanted to talk about, I had a interesting week in the studio, in a sense, almost starting with this painting, which I did last, not last Saturday, the Saturday before. last week, and I haven't shared it on the channel because I'm just making my peace with it and living with it in the studio. A lot of times I might even share something the very next day after painting it, especially if I feel like real good about it. But this one I wasn't sure about. I am feeling good enough about it to share it with you, and I hope you enjoy it. But uh, later on in the week, I did a whole bunch, not a whole bunch, maybe two or three other paintings, all of which were, one was a black and white where I was using a very opaque black, and that was a struggle because it wasn't acting like I was used to my black acting. But it was good. It was, good exercise. There's a few things I'll have to do to the painting to fix, but all in all, it's a saleable painting. But what I wanted to get into was, and then an awesome friend of the channel. I guess we can just call her Kay, and she put me onto a site called Paint My Picture, and Kay, well, actually, Kay, if you're listening to this, I'll be shooting you some of my selections from that site because there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of images. I think it's called Paint My Picture. Let me just make sure, because where are we? It's called Paint My Photo. So sorry, not Paint My Picture. I'm glad I checked. Paint My Photo. And what's great about that is, you have to be careful when you're just grabbing random references off the internet that you don't grab somebody's prize image, make a painting from it, and you could be opening yourself up to some problems down the line, especially if you do actually become successful, which, like I've said before, what's the point of doing something if you're not trying to be successful at it? So what's great about this Paint My Photo site is those are all copyright free. And there's, I was just, and I'm still working my way through the landscape section because I'm always looking for interesting photos that I didn't take that I could paint. That's not very often because, like I said, I'm pretty careful about that. But I found just a few that I think would be paintable. But so many landscape photos will do nothing except help you produce bad painting, and many of them need to be modified. In fact, there is one in particular I found in this site that would make an awesome painting with some changes. So that's probably another thing I'm going to do over in the members area is just show in Photoshop how I retool an image. And not to be a broken record, but you might say, well, yeah, I know what you mean, Mike, because I've done all these bad paintings, and how do I know what's going to make a good one? And the short answer is the only way you can know is because you've done quite a few bad ones. But there are some rules, and I have seen very few painters cover this or approach this topic, and so I wanted to start addressing it here. One big rule, a good rule, unless you are George Ness, you generally don't want big trees or bushes in the exact middle of your painting, with large gaps around. In fact, when he did it, he never left large gaps around. He was always very clever about how he directed the eye. That's the other thing. You really need to be proactive in how the eye is moving through the the picture, and this is the difference between a layperson and somebody who's a professional, knows what they're doing. The layperson will just look at things and go, I like it, I don't like it. They won't know why. A professional should be able to express why. Yeah. By the way, you can see I started up in the top of this painting with some purple and found ways to... It's a reddish purple, though, I will say. I didn't go that far into bluish purples. And actually, one of the reasons for I just couldn't... I was using dioxine purple, and which is a nice purple. It's the purple on my palette. But there were tones in the reference that I just really couldn't hit with the tools I had in my palette. But that's another thing, that's always almost always fine because you'll have integrity in your colors mixed from what's on your palette. No one's ever going to know or care what actual colors were in the reference. And getting back into reference, though, um, the other good rules is where's the horizon line? Is it in a good spot? Are you like one of the types of paintings now? Good paintings can be made from weird references, but you almost have to be a specialist. Like maybe you specialize in painting hillsides, where you're looking down into valleys, but those tend to make really terrible paintings because of lack of a strong focal point. So you want to know where your focal point is, even if it could be a strong focal point or it could be a relatively weak focal point. As long as it is a focal point, it's something that you can anchor around. Obviously, in the painting I'm doing today, you can see the focal point is really this group of trees on our right. And interestingly, too, I'm going into that tree with a purple, but it's kind of a knockback purple, and I ended up being pretty happy with that. I wanted to go with a lot more contrast there, but I ended up kind of settling on this sort of smoky thing, and I may indeed put this painting back on the easel again. We'll have to see. I can be, um, I definitely like to hold off on that, and the reason is like, and I've mentioned this, hundreds of times before, but every time you put that painting back on an easel, you take, the quote unquote fix it. You're taking a chance that you're going to ruin it too. You're going to, in the process of fixing it, everything you do on your painting or any work of art actually affects every other part. So, it's almost better sometimes just to let something exist with a few perceived flaws and not get real tweaky on it, because what will happen is that you'll end up losing many of the good things. Yeah. A bit of a challenge in this painting too, where you have in any painting where you have extreme lights against extreme darks, and to get nice edges there, it's always a bit of a challenge. But heck, I'm up for it. And I have to say, this painting ended up with a really nice open feeling that I'm enjoying. The other thing I'll point out to you that um, I don't hate it. I think once it's in the frame, it'll be fine. Is we have this little like island mass of land. It was in a reference, and I painted it into my painting, and I think it looks fine. It almost functions as part of the vignette at the bottom of the painting, so it's not distracting, and certainly better than if there had been nothing at all in the water there. So, yeah. Anyway, we're getting kind of close to the end. Hopefully, you got a few little insights and tips. Like I said, I will be. I guess the one thing I would say is always look at your reference critically. One good tip. Here's a great tip for you. Make sure and reverse it, because a lot of things that you're accepting right ways, you might just really pop out when you reverse that image. You can do that either in a paint program in the computer, or you could just look at it in the mirror. If you print your reference images out, which I did for ages before I started using digital screens to paint from. Anyway, I guess that wraps up this video. Thank you so much for joining me today. Like I said, there's a live version of this in the members area, and we have a rollicking good time in the members area. We have first class accommodation for you there. We've got showers and even a massage table, so maybe come over and check it out. Sorry for the cough. Until I come back with another video, though, please do me a favor. Take good care of yourself and all your loved ones. Be kind to other people. Try and love your enemies, and be patient with people that have opinions that differ from your own, especially in the current climate where we're all dealing with right now. So, see you real soon. Take good care. Stay out of trouble.